Hey there, and welcome back to AI Essentials for Educators. I'm Sawyer, and today we're tackling something that trips up almost every teacher when they first start using AI tools. And honestly, it trips up a lot of experienced users too. We're talking about prompting. Specifically, how do you actually get useful, usable outputs out of a tool like ChatGPT or Claude, instead of generic, watered-down responses that feel like they could have been written for anyone about anything? If you've ever typed something like, "Make me a quiz about the Civil War," and gotten back this bland, forgettable list of 10 questions that doesn't match your students, your standards, or even your grade level, that's not the AI being bad. That's a prompting problem, and the good news is prompting is a skill, not a talent. You can learn it in about 10 minutes, and that's exactly what we're doing today. Let's start with a mindset shift, because I think this is the single most important thing in this whole lesson. A lot of teachers assume the magic is in the AI model itself, like, if I just had access to the newest, smartest model, my outputs would be better. And sure, model quality matters some. But in practice, the gap between a mediocre prompt and a great prompt matters way more than the gap between GPT-4 and whatever comes out next month. Think of it like this. Giving an AI model a vague prompt is like handing a substitute teacher a sticky note that just says, "Teach the class today," and walking out the door. Technically, something will happen, but it's not going to look like what you had in mind, because the sub doesn't know your students, your pacing, your classroom norms, or what good looks like for you. A detailed prompt is like leaving that same substitute a real sub plan. Here's the objective, here's the warm-up, here's how my students like to work, here's what to avoid. Same substitute, wildly different outcome. Researchers and practitioners who study human-AI interaction, including guidance published by OpenAI and Anthropic themselves in their own prompting documentation, tend to converge on a handful of elements that separate vague prompts from productive ones. I've distilled this down to 4 things I want you to build into basically every prompt you write from now on. Number 1, role and context. Tell the AI who it's talking to and what situation it's in. Instead of explain photosynthesis, try, "You're helping me create materials for my 7th grade life science class. Most of my students are reading below grade level, and I have an English learner population that's about 30% of the class." That context changes everything about what comes back: vocabulary, sentence length, scaffolding. Number 2, the specific task. Vague verbs get vague results. "Help me with a lesson" is vague. Write a 15-minute bell ringer activity that reviews the water cycle using a real-world scenario is specific. The more precisely you describe the actual deliverable, length, format, quantity, the closer the first draft lands to something you can actually use. Number 3, constraints and examples. This is the one teachers skip most often, and it's probably the highest leverage move you can make. If you have a rubric, paste it in. If you have a sample of the tone or reading level you want, paste that in too. Something like, "Match the reading level of this passage," followed by an actual paragraph from your textbook, does more work than 3 more sentences of description ever could. Number 4, format instructions. Do you want a table, bullet points, a script with stage directions, multiple choice with 4 options, and an answer key? AI models are genuinely good at following format instructions when you give them, but they'll default to generic paragraph form if you don't specify, and that's rarely what a busy teacher actually needs to plug into their week. Let's make this concrete, because I know abstract advice about prompting doesn't stick the way an example does. Say you teach middle school Spanish and you want a reading comprehension activity. Week prompt, "Create a Spanish reading passage for my class." That's going to get you something generic. Probably intermediate difficulty, probably about a random topic like a family trip, with no exercises tailored to what you're actually teaching this week. Now here's the same request, built with our 4 elements. You're helping a middle school Spanish teacher create materials for a novice mid-class currently studying the preterite tense with regular AR verbs. Write a 150-word narrative reading passage in Spanish about a student's weekend at a soccer tournament, using only regular R preterite verbs and vocabulary appropriate for novice mid-learners. After the passage, include 5 comprehension questions in Spanish with multiple choice answers, and a short answer key in English for the teacher. Same task, wildly different usefulness. Here's something I really want to land with you. Your first prompt almost never needs to be perfect, because prompting is a conversation, not a vending machine. If the output isn't quite right, don't start over. Refine it. Tell the AI specifically what's off. This is too easy for novice mid. Please increase the vocabulary difficulty slightly, or shorten this to 100 words. These follow-up prompts, informed by what you actually got back, are often more valuable than the original prompt itself. This matters because a lot of teachers try one prompt, get something mediocre, and conclude, AI doesn't really work for my subject. In almost every case I've seen, the fix wasn't a better tool. It was 1 or 2 rounds of specific targeted follow-up. Think of it less like writing a perfect legal contract and more like giving directions to a very capable assistant. I want to flag one common trap: overstuffing a single prompt with 10 different instructions at once, hoping the AI will nail all of them simultaneously. It's usually better to get one solid draft, then layer refinements 1 or 2 at a time. It's more like a dialogue than a one-off command. Take it slow, and you'll find the AI keeps up much better. Before you move to the next lesson, I want you to actually do this. Take a lesson or activity you're planning for next week. Write a vague one-line prompt for it first, just to see what you get. Then rebuild that prompt using our 4 elements: role and context, specific task, constraints and examples, and format instructions. Compare the 2 outputs side by side. I promise the difference will make this whole lesson click in a way that just watching a video never could. That's prompting basics. In the next lesson, we're going to build on this and talk about prompt chaining, using a sequence of prompts to build something more complex than a single prompt could handle on its own, like a full unit plan or a differentiated set of materials for multiple reading levels. See you there. See you in the next one.